This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. I'm still trying to wrap my head around this. No, not the treatment of Brett Kavanaugh. John Mayer, his new mail contract.
Oh, yeah.
Terrible.
I think he's very soothing. I like him.
It's like Muzak, not music. John Mayer at one of these concerts for 12-year-old girls that he holds had this to say about male-female relations in 2018.
Bullshit is the idea that if you're a man, any woman you see, you should be able to get an erection. And when we don't, that's the trauma.
Mom, what's that?
That I don't want it to be the male contract. I'm telling you that's the contract, and we have to tear the contract up. And we.
I think we're supposed to.
What's
clap.
that?
Am I supposed to scream now?
Please clap.
No, it does. It.
What is happening?
No, hold on. This is fine. She's actually asking a really decent
Q&A with John Mayer.
pertinent question. What you're saying? What is the male contract then?
Yeah, what is it?
The male contract is to, between the ages of whatever, puberty and college, to be instructed, to have a class, to have a voice of reason taught to young men. You are not supposed to be able to do this to everything that moves. You are not entitled to be able to do this to everything that moves. This does not come naturally to a man.
That is the contract?
This does not come unnaturally to a man. You do not possess the universal ability to have any woman that you see. They're scared and you're scared. And I'm just going on record as revealing the trauma of men feeling like they've fallen short of a bullshit alpha male contract that nobody can live up to. And until we get rid of that in men, we won't have the life that we all deserve. And I'm sorry for taking the time to be able to say that.
What? Rambling nonsense. So the alpha male contract is the problem. We need a new contract that says, I recognize, I don't know with who, with all of womankind, that I recognize that I don't have the right, I don't have the expectation to, get a Woody all the time. And then thank you very much. Thank you. And number two, to expect that I can sleep with every woman.
Yeah, how dare you think that? You know what? I'll raise my kids, my boys. I don't need John Mayer.
Are you sure you don't need him?
I'm positive.
In a 2010 Playboy interview, John Mayer also had this to say. There have probably been days when I saw 300 vaginas before I got out of bed, referring to early morning porn binges. My junk is sort of like a white supremacist.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
I've got a Benetton Hart and a effing David Duke blank.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. No,
My body's a wonderland.
Yeah,
says
Jennifer
John
Love
Mayer.
Hewitt, bad choice. I'm just very horny. I'm a douchebag. That's why black people love me. John Mayer, Playboy interview. Wait, there's more.
I'd stop now, sir.
Someone asked me the other day, what does it feel like now to have a hood pass? It's sort of a contradiction in terms because you really had a hood pass. You could call it an N-word pass. That's this pasty white dude, John Mayer, in Playboy 8 years ago. I mean, I'm sure he's grown up a lot since.
He had to.
As you heard, with that compelling social commentary on male-female relations offered by John Mayer. Minka Kelly, you should be embarrassed to have ever gone out with him. Jennifer Aniston.
Jennifer Aniston went out with
Minka Kelly from Friday Night Lights.
Oh.
Yeah. John Mayer.
Friday Night Lights, how old are you? The movie or the series, the television series?
I'm old enough to have lived through the first part of this millennium. I'm older than 13. That's how old I am. All right, for more on John Mayer's new contract, as well as other matters, male, female, Kavanaugh, Ford related, we're pleased to be joined by John Zmirak. He is the writer and editor for thestream.org. also the author of the book, The Politically Incorrect Guide to Immigration. John, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Good morning. I kept thinking you were saying John Zmirak, that I was being alleged to have said all this insane stuff you were just quoting.
Yes, I was setting it up. Now answer for your 2010 Playboy interview, Mr. Zmirak. So are you rethinking your relationships with the fair sex after hearing from John Mayer?
He sounds like somebody who got out of his 28 days of sex addiction treatment, and he's just babbling back what he read in
the Federalist, normally reading in the New York Times. Conservatives wrong to gloat about Kavanaugh. There's every reason for those on the right to celebrate, but there are also some very good reasons to keep those celebrations quiet, respectful, and dignified. One reason a muted and conciliatory approach is advisable is that the court, unlike elected branches of government, exercises power not through control of the purse or the military, but through faith of the American people. I agree with the inclination to oppose gloating. I don't really think that the Supreme Court's legitimacy in the American public's mind is really in much jeopardy. But what about his larger point about being respectful, humble, and moving on?
I don't want the Supreme Court to have a lot of legitimacy. It's been running like a super legislature, like a five-man dictatorship since roughly 1973 when it issued Roe v. Wade. That's not just me saying that. Antonin Scalia said we are in the danger of being governed by five lawyers, a dictatorship of five lawyers. So I welcome the politicization of Supreme Court nominations. When Lindsey Graham, admirably stood up for Kavanaugh, and he said, say hello to Kagan and Sotomayor, I voted for them, I thought, yeah, well, you should be ashamed of that. No Republican should have ever voted to endorse people with leftist political philosophies like that or judicial philosophies like that. And I'm glad, the Senate Republicans have woken up and stopped meekly confirming leftists appointed by people like Obama, and in fact started fighting for moderates like Kavanaugh. Kavanaugh is not a judicial conservative, in my view, like Scalia or Clarence Thomas. He's a moderate. He's a little more conservative than somebody like Bill Clinton would have appointed. The fact is that the left has gone so far out onto an extreme that they can't tell Brett Kavanaugh from, David Duke or Alex Jones.
Well, their biggest fear is that he's going to be, the deciding vote, and if there's a possibility of Roe v. Wade being overturned. Do you see that happening?
That would be wonderful. I don't necessarily expect it, but yeah, imagine that. Imagine that American citizens get to vote on the laws in their states. That's all Roe v. Wade does is it keeps the people from voting on abortion in their 50 states. And so this has been a tantrum by the left at the idea of democracy, at the idea of popular sovereignty. No, everything has to be done by five Ivy League lawyers appointed for life in a smoke-filled room, so to speak. And so when I see this hysteria over Kavanaugh, that is leftist elites shrieking because they're afraid of democracy.
It seems to me, just picking up on Marcus's piece about not gloating, okay, we shouldn't gloat, but we should continue to be morally indignant because the public seems to be relatively scandalized by how Kavanaugh was treated by Democrats. And if we want to sustain that for the next 30 days to the political benefit of the Trump policy agenda and Republican control of Congress, we should continue to remind people how exactly they behaved.
Absolutely. In fact, we need to continue to just stand up to them when they do things like in Portland, these Antifa thugs took over the streets, and they were directing traffic and attacking cars that didn't obey them, and the police were just standing there watching it happen. It was like a paramilitary group had taken over the city. The more the left gets hysterical and continues to be hysterical over the Kavanaugh thing, the better, because we can highlight that. And we can let the voters know if the Democrats take the House on November 6th, this is going to be a national spectacle. And if you thought the show trial of Brett Kavanaugh was bad, Wait till they start the show trial of Donald Trump when they impeach him, which they've all said they're going to do. The Democrats get the House. They're going to impeach Donald Trump no matter what Mueller gives them. He could give him a greasy paper bag with a ham sandwich in it. They will spend 2 years of the Congress's time on a nonstop impeachment trial against Trump, against people in his cabinet, against Kavanaugh, because they don't care. They think it was illegitimate for them to lose the 2016 election. Obama was supposed to fundamentally transform America. It was supposed to be irreversible. They're going to do whatever they can to nullify the people's vote. And if they win on November 6th, watch out, because the Kavanaugh circus will look like a picnic compared to what's going to happen in America after that.
Last question on the Kavanaugh circus. The question about whether to go after and potentially prosecute any of those who testified under oath less than truthfully, perhaps not Miss Ford, but more like maybe Miss Swetnick.
I want to go after Ford to get her to flip on her attorneys, because I think they consciously colluded to maybe convince her that it was really Kavanaugh. I want to see what Katz was up to. I want to see those notes. I want to see the communications. I want to know if Katz should be disbarred. Remember, this is a woman who's worked for George Soros for the last 15 years, who just conveniently shows up to represent this person who doesn't want to go public and doesn't want to be politicized. No, I'm sorry. I would leverage potential perjury charges against Ford in order to find the corruption of her attorneys. Yes, go after them. Absolutely. Hammer and tongs.
All right. He is John Zmirak. He is no shrinking violet. He's also the writer and editor of thestream.org and author of the book, The Politically Incorrect Guide to Immigration. John, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Have a great day.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.